Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Kuli English Podcast. It's me, your host, Chris. So today is December 1st, and it's a Monday, and tomorrow is the Tuesday that this episode is going to release. So just this past week, we had Thanksgiving, and if you don't remember what Thanksgiving is, well, Thanksgiving is like the holiday in November where you just eat a lot. You eat a crazy amount, and the image is like turkey and eating, and turkey and eating. And if you didn't celebrate it, well, I hope you ate some good food last week. But I figured since this is the first episode after Thanksgiving, let's go ahead and talk about a lot of food stuff. So I'm going to be telling you a bunch of random food things and a couple phrases related to food that maybe you can use. And then also I'll be telling you a couple stories where I use those phrases. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started with that right after this short little break. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So the first phrase that I want to talk about today is a phrase called a food coma. So if you haven't heard of a food coma before, well, let's go and take it apart and we'll talk about the two different parts of that word. So the first part is food, and we all know what food is. Food is what you ate a lot of all of your life, and food is what you need to continue living life. And hopefully it's something that you look forward to each day as you eat good food. So, that's the first part of food coma. Food, and then we have coma. And what is a coma? Well, a coma, actually, it's not really that positive of a word. It's kind of like a sad word, because a coma means that like you're sick, or for some reason you're like asleep and you can't wake back up. And a good example of this is probably like in Korean dramas. So in Korean dramas, then they always have like two characters, and it's a guy and a girl, and they fall in love, and everything's going really well, but then somebody gets hit by a car, or somebody has an accident, and then that character goes into a coma. So they're asleep for a really long time. They're like asleep in the hospital for, I don't know, like a month or like 3 months or a year or something. And so when they're asleep, they are in a coma. And then they wake up, and then they forgot all their memories or something like that. Or the new boyfriend or the new girlfriend has some other new third person coming in or something like that. But anyways, that's coma. And so if you combine these two together into food coma, then food coma is, it's not actually that negative of a word. It just means that like I ate too much. So, like if I ate too much, I can say I ate too much, or I can say, oh, I have a food coma, or, oh, this is going to make me have a food coma, or something like that. And it's not a very negative word. It's actually kind of positive. It just means that you ate a lot. So anyways, that's food coma. And of course, we'll move on to this next part where I basically, use this phrase, and I'm going to tell you some story where I actually experienced a food coma. So when I came to Japan, one of the absolute best wonderful things of Japan is the sushi, because, I like sushi. So when you eat sushi, you can go to like a cheap place and you can eat lots of sushi, or you can go to like a more expensive place and you can eat like more expensive sushi, and maybe you don't want to eat so much because it's more expensive. And then there's a place called all you can eat. So all you can eat, which sometimes you can abbreviate it. Sometimes you call it AYCE if you're typing it. But you can also just say all you can eat. And all you can eat means that you pay the price, and then for around maybe like 90 minutes or an hour, then you can eat as much as you want. So it's like the same price for however much you can eat. If you can only eat one piece of sushi, then you still have to pay the same price. And if you can eat 100 pieces of sushi, then you still pay the same price. So of course, if you eat a lot, then it's kind of really worth it. So I went to an all-you-can-eat sushi place in Japan. And again, so the word that we're trying to use here is food coma. So I'm not sure if you can already guess, but, this story is not going to end like in a happy way. But anyways, I went to the all-you-can-eat sushi place by myself, and I ordered some sushi, and I really like salmon and unagi. So I ordered a bunch of salmon and unagi, and I think I ordered like maybe 20 pieces, and then I ate the 20 pieces because that's how much I normally eat. And then I thought, oh, okay, well, it's all you can eat. So I got to make sure that I eat more so that I get my value. And so after I first ordered the 20 pieces, I ate those 20. And then I ordered like another 10 more. And that time I only ordered like, I ordered this one called negitoro, which is like minced tuna. And that one's supposed to be a little bit more expensive. So I try to only order the expensive ones because I'm at all you can eat. So like I gotta eat as much as I can of the expensive stuff. And then so I ordered that, and then so I got those 10, and then I ate those 10, and so in total I've ate 30 pieces, right? And then after I ate 30 pieces, I was thinking, oh, okay, so I'm pretty full. I'm not yet in a food coma. I'm getting there, but I'm like pretty full, and I don't need to eat anymore. But then I thought, okay, well, I still have time left in the all you can eat. So let me go ahead and order even more. So I ordered like 10 more pieces. And this is, it's only the expensive stuff. So I only ordered like the unagi and the tuna stuff. No salmon stuff. No cheap sushi. I try to get the most expensive one. I kind of regret it a little bit. But anyway, so I got it. And then so in total, I ate 10 plus 20 plus 10, so like 40 pieces total so far. And then I was feeling like really full. I was feeling like uncomfortably full. So then what did I do? I ordered more sushi. So then I ordered 8 more. So in total, I ate 48 pieces of sushi. And so that was too much. And then so my stomach wasn't hurting, but I knew that I was too full. So then what I ended up doing was I actually just stopped there, and then I paid, and then I went home. But then as I was going home, sometimes when you eat food and you feel full, you actually feel like the truth of how full you are, maybe like 10 or 15 minutes after. That's why if you eat like really, really, really fast, usually you don't get full immediately. Like it takes like a little bit of time for your stomach to tell your brain that I'm full. So I was really full, and then I paid, and it was still okay. And then I got on the train to go home, and then I was feeling like a little bit too full. So at that point, I was kind of uncomfortable. And then I did some really stupid stuff. So this is like still not the end of the story. Like there's going to be like 2 or 3 additional parts that's just stupid. But I read somewhere online that if before you eat a meal, you drink some sweet drink like soda or like some kind of sweet beverage, then it makes you eat more. And it's supposed to be because if you take a little bit of sugar, then it kind of like warms up your body and then you're ready to eat more. So then what I did was after I already ate all that sushi, I was thinking, okay, well, I got to make sure that the stomach is like working. So let me go ahead and get like a sweet drink. So I got like a boba, which is like a milk tea kind of thing. And then I drank that. And it didn't make me feel better because the truth is, if you've already eaten a lot and then you drink like some sweet stuff, it doesn't actually help you. You actually just shouldn't be drinking or eating more stuff when you're so full. But I didn't know that. So then I was thinking, okay, well, maybe this is going to help. And then I drank it and then it didn't help. And so I was in more pain. And I was like, oh, this is still not good. And then I went home. And I was thinking, okay, so I made it home, so it's fine. So maybe I got to take a poop, and then, I got to clear out some space. So then I tried to go to the bathroom, and, I pooped a little bit, and it was fine. But, only a little bit came out, and my stomach was still kind of like full because I ate too much sushi. So then I was like still in pain, and I didn't really know what to do. So I was like, okay, well, why don't I go ahead and take a hot bath? Like I'm sure a hot bath will fix me up. Sometimes if I'm tired, or sometimes if I have a headache, or sometimes if I've had a long day, I take a bath and it always makes me feel better. But when you're full, actually, it doesn't really help. So anyways, I went into the bath, and then I took a long bath, and the whole time my stomach hurt. And then when I came out, like my stomach still hurt. And then, by the way, you're not actually supposed to do that. So if you ate too much, you're not supposed to take a bath or anything. But that's what I did. And then I went back to my room, and I was still in pain. And then I just laid on the floor for like an hour and a half. I just laid, it was like a hardwood floor, and I just laid on the ground. And then like I messaged my friends. I was like, hey, I ate too much. And then they all just kind of laughed at me, and nobody gave me any advice or anything like that. So the sad thing about it is like there's kind of no way to fix it. But the good thing is it just fixes itself over time. You just need to give yourself time, and then don't eat more when your stomach feels so full. And then the next day, once it's recovered, you can just eat again, and it's no problem. Like it's not like you have to like stop eating for a day or anything like that. But that was me. And since I was literally laying on the floor and I couldn't really I couldn't like bring myself to go like do anything. I think that counts as a food coma. So food coma is you ate so much and you can't really do anything else except just sit there and do nothing. So if you ever want to use the word food coma, you can imagine me laying on the floor, having eaten too much sushi, and I can't do anything else. So that's food coma. And so a lot of people probably experience a food coma after a huge meal, so like Thanksgiving or something like that. And on Thanksgiving, I had that one experience like 2 years ago where I ate too much, and then that was really embarrassing. So I never did it again, and no more food comas since then. And hopefully, you also won't have any food comas anytime soon. So remember that when you eat, you should have fun, and don't eat too much. But if you eat too much, it's not over yet. You can still do the right thing by not eating more and not drinking more, and kind of staying still and not taking a bath. All right, so that's food coma. So let's go and take a short little break, and then we'll continue. All right, so let's go and continue. So this time, I want to talk to you about something called a food baby. So I'm just like picking words that have the word food in it, and it might be useful in terms of like slang or something like that. But anyways, a food baby, it just means that you ate so much that your stomach is kind of bulging, like your stomach is coming out. And normally your stomach's not coming out that much, but because you ate a lot, then you have a food baby. So your stomach's like coming out. And the meaning, I guess you can imagine that it's like, it looks like you're pregnant, but actually it's just because you ate a lot of food. You don't actually have to look like you're fully pregnant, because if someone is actually pregnant and, they're like 8 months in or something like that, they're 8 months pregnant, then usually it actually looks really big. And you can't eat that much to make your stomach come out that much. But a food baby, again, you can use it as slang. You can kind of use it even if it's like not really true. So basically, if you ate a lot, you can say, oh, I'm going to have a food baby. Or, oh, wow, look, I have a food baby. And then you show people your stomach or something like that. But so, a food baby is kind of like it's just a casual, fun phrase. And if you ever feel like your stomach's poking out or something, you can say, oh, my belly's poking out, my tummy's poking out, my stomach is like hanging out, I have a food baby or something like that. And so I have a little story about this, and this story is not even really about me, but it's about like what I thought a lot about some like really impressive stuff that my friends did. So there's kind of two people that I'm going to talk about, but I didn't really actually ask them to like ask them to give permission to like talk about them or something. So I'm not actually going to mention their name or anything. But I have a friend in high school, and he was in orchestra. And so orchestra it's like the club activity where you play like violin and stuff. I played violin. He played bass. And he had this really, really cool trick where he like kind of works out, but he's also a little bit chubby. And so like he's got muscle and he's got fat. And he can do this thing where, so he kind of has like a belly, but after he eats food, like he gets like a food belly. So his like belly comes out a little bit more, which is pretty normal. But he can do this amazing thing where he can kind of like push the belly in, where he sucks it in, and then all of it just goes up to his chest. And then, if his chest is like kind of big, then it looks like he's really strong, like he's got a lot of muscles. And then just the funniest thing ever was he can do this thing where he's like, hey, everyone, look at me. And then he'll flex, right? So he'll bring up his arms, his left and right arm go up. And he's like, look at my muscles. And then it's better if he's shirtless, but he's showing his chest, and his chest is like really big, right? So he's like, oh, he's really strong. And then what he does is he releases it, and then it all goes right back down to his belly. So then his belly's like bulging out again. And that moment is the best. He's like, hey, everyone. And he's got a really serious look on his face. He's like, hey, everyone, look at me. I'm so muscular and handsome. And then at that moment, he releases it. And then it goes, boom. And then all the muscle just goes to his belly, and it looks like some like fat belly stuff. And that was so great. I loved that. And I never met anyone else who could do that. Until my roommate, after I graduated, He could also do this where he kind of like inflates. He does the exact same thing. So like he inflates all the stuff into his chest, and then at any point he can just sag it back down. And he can also hit his tummy, and it makes like a really good echoing noise. It's like pow 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 pow. If I hit my belly, like I don't really get like a great noise, and then sometimes it kind of hurts, and I don't really like to hurt myself, so it's not that great. So anyways, that was a food baby. And so again, just to review, in the previous section, we talked about a food coma, and then we talked about a food baby. So then what happens if you combine these two together? Well, let me tell you a story. So that roommate of mine, the one that can like do that kind of cool trick thing, sometimes he would eat like these fried chicken sandwiches. And fried chicken sandwiches, they're really good, but they're really heavy. And then sometimes that guy, instead of eating like one sandwich, like one order, he'll order like two, and then he'll eat those. And then he will have, and this is not like a real use of the word, but he'll have a food coma baby. So he'll have both. He'll be laying on the couch, so he's in a food coma because he can't really move. He's like, oh, I had too much fried chicken, and he lays down. And then not only that, but he also like brings out his stomach because, it was probably a little bit hot in California, often in the summer. And then so he would just like bring up his shirt, and you can see his like belly, which is a little bit hairy. And then so, he's in a food coma because he's laying down and he can't do anything else. And he's also got a food baby, which he's like showing to us. And he's not doing the trick or anything because to do the trick, it takes like effort. And he's in a food coma right now, so he can't do anything. So that's the combination of food baby and food coma. But anyways, let's take a short little break here, and then I'll come back and talk to you some more about food stuff. All right, so let's go ahead and continue. But before we continue, let's go ahead and review and talk about the phrases. So first we had a food coma. And so a coma is like when you're like asleep or you're like, you can't move. You feel kind of, I feel sick. I can't do anything. And it's because you ate too much food. For example, if you ate way too much sushi, you'll fall in a food coma and you'll be like, I can't do anything. And again, the food coma, you don't actually have to have any kind of problem. You don't actually have to feel that bad. You can just say, oh, I ate so much that I have a food coma. And then that's fine too. And then there's also a food baby, which is kind of similar, where you ate too much and then physically your stomach is coming out a little bit. But you can actually still use it even if your stomach is not really coming out. Even if you ate a lot and then you just feel like you ate a lot and your stomach isn't like different at all, you can still say, oh yeah, I have a food baby. But if somebody else ate a lot and their stomach is coming out, you can say, oh, that person has a food baby. But it might be a little bit rude because you're kind of calling them fat. But, if it's your friend, it's all right. So anyways, that's it for the review. And now what I want to talk about is a little bit about food culture stuff, especially between like the US and Asia. So a little bit of explanation, a little bit of background for me is I was born and raised in the US, but my parents are Taiwanese, so I have like some exposure to Asian culture stuff. And I think a lot of my friends are also like the same. So what you call it is an ABC, so an American-born Chinese. So basically like someone with Chinese parents, but they were born in the US. You can call that an ABC. And this ABC term is very popular amongst like Chinese cultures. So like in Taiwan or China, if you say ABC, like even if they don't really speak that much English, they probably know what an ABC is. It's an American-born Chinese. Someone who is Chinese that was born in America. Something like that. Anyways, so for me and my friends, because a lot of us are ABCs, then we kind of understand like a little bit of both of the culture stuff. But there are probably a lot of people in the world that, understand not both, maybe just one or maybe zero, because they're from a different country. And that's totally fine. So I thought I might talk about that a little bit. But there is some like differences in regards to food stuff. So again, I grew up in the US. So for me, when I go to Asia, then the Asia stuff is kind of the new thing for me. And one of the most interesting things is like when you go to Asia and you see your Asian relatives, like they do this thing where they kind of make you eat. They make you eat a lot. And like everyone has their own bowl, right? and then there's like kind of like shared plates in the middle that you get food from. And then like the relatives would be like, oh, hey, like it's been a long time since I saw you, so let me make sure that you eat a lot. So they get like food from the big plate, and then like they put it on your bowl. They put a lot on your bowl. Even if you don't want to eat that much, they put it in there. And so like you get made to eat a lot. And then in the US, I don't think I've really seen that much. Like it's different, because in the US, like I've hung out with like white friends, or like people who don't have any Asian culture in the household. And then like I joined for Thanksgiving, and it's so great because they have like a really classic Thanksgiving dinner. They've got like mashed potatoes, peas and beans and like turkey and stuff. And then like people will like get food for you, but it's not like hey, you have to eat. It's like, oh, let me get some food for you, and then they give it to you. But then in Asia, it's kind of like it's like a game. It's like, oh, if you make your kid eat a lot, then you win. And then the kids, I don't know what game they play. They don't get to play. Okay, there's no game for the kid. It's just a game for the adults where they're like, all right, let's make the kid eat a lot. And I do want to give a little bit of context, a little bit of explanation behind this. But this kind of Asian culture of like making people eat stuff, this is my personal guess. It's not that I like looked it up, and this is also something that you can't really say for 100% sure. But I think probably it comes back from a really long time ago. So maybe like 1,000 years ago, it was harder to get food. So you can still get food, but it's not as easy as today. So today, if I wanted food, if I have money, then I can go buy the food from a store, from a restaurant or something, or I can go to the supermarket and buy some ingredients, buy some groceries, some eggs, milk, anything. And then I go home and I cook stuff. And then so food's kind of easy to get. But 1,000 years ago, like grocery stores probably weren't as popular, and like restaurants weren't as popular because people were really focused on just, making sure that they can survive. And also 1,000 years ago, people would die younger. So, you'd be more scared of like diseases and stuff. Like if someone gets sick or something, you'd be worried, oh no, like, is this person going to get better? Like you don't just go to the doctor and the doctor's like, oh, I've studied a lot of medicine. I have a lot of information. No. It's just sometimes you're sick, and then sometimes you die, and then sometimes your like family dies too. So like again, so back then, since food wasn't as easy to get, you can imagine that there are probably like dinners from 1,000 years ago. And in those dinners, it's like, okay, so mama and papa and the kid, they're like eating dinner. And then maybe they didn't have much food because, I don't know, maybe things didn't really go well for that past 2 weeks. So it's hard to have like fresh, clean food. And then what do they do when the food's running low? Well, you got to make sure that the kid has enough food, because if the kid starves, then that's really sad. And as the parents, their like life's goal is to make sure that their kid is healthy. So what they do is they're like, okay, we don't have that much food, but we'll make sure that the kid eats. So then you like give it to the kid. You say, here you go, kid, eat this. And the kid's like, yay, I like eating because I don't like being hungry. And the parents are like, it's okay. I'm strong. I'm an adult. It's okay if I don't have that much food. We're going to find another way, or something like that. So like way back then, it's kind of what you had to do. What you can't do is you can't say, okay, well, I'm going to give all the food to the parents because the parents, do the work and the kid's just going to die. But, like in a normal family, like everyone takes care of each other. It's like a team. So then you have that culture. And so my guess is probably that culture just kind of stuck around a bit more in Asia. So like even now with my Asian relatives, like they're always like, hey, you got to eat more. You're too skinny. You got to eat more. And you're too skinny. This thing also, it probably comes back from way back then. If you didn't eat enough, you'd be really skinny. So if you saw someone skinny, it might be because they didn't eat enough. And then now in the modern times, like, because food is not really that much of a problem anymore, at least in most places, then people who are skinny are kind of like, oh yeah, it's good to be skinny. Like I'm slim, I'm lean, I'm sexy, I'm like not fat or something like that. So then like, then there's kind of a gap. So like in the older generation, so for people who are in their like 70s or 80s, then it's kind of like, being skinny, I don't know, it might mean that you didn't eat enough. You got to eat enough and make sure that you're not starving. And then like maybe when you're if you're in a younger generation, like I don't know, 20s or 30s or something, then you're like, okay, so being skinny, well, that's good. You don't want to be fat because you want to be skinny so you can look good. And if you look good, then a lot of things in life are easier. Like people like you more, and then it will be easier to find a boyfriend, a girlfriend, or something like that. But anyway, so that's my guess for why why Asia has this culture of like giving you food. And it's also like it's also interesting in terms of like the gift giving as well, because like there's kind of this thing especially in Japan where like if you're going to meet someone or you're going to an event, you kind of have to like give a gift. And then if it's a relative, I think what they often do is they give you food. So they give you a gift of food that's like a fancy Japanese snack from, I don't know, this other place. And they're like, oh, here you go. We give this to you because it's a gift and it's been a while since I saw you. And what do? You just give food. I mean, if you give someone clothes or something, then you don't know if they're going to like it. But food, well, food will disappear. So food is probably like a safe gift. So anyways, I just wanted to talk about that. And actually, I think I have enough for maybe one more short little section. So let's take a short little break here and then we'll move on to our last section. All right, so let's go ahead and make our way into this last section here. And again, the topic of today is we're talking about food. We talked about what a food coma is. We talked about a food baby. And then I also talked a little bit about my opinion about like some Asian culture stuff versus American culture stuff where the relatives like make you eat lots of food. And so now I've kind of talked about this before, but I really want to say something that I hope that it offends nobody, but it might offend somebody. And I just want to say I don't really like Japanese pizza that much. So Japanese food, I think I really love Japanese food, and almost all Japanese food I actually super love it, and that's one of the main reasons why I moved to Japan. But pizza is so much better in the US. And like a Japanese pizza, like for example, in the US, I used to really like Domino's. Domino's is pretty good if you know how to order. So if you just order anything from Domino's, it actually might not be very good, but you have to order the hand-tossed pan, which is like a different kind of crust. And then you also have to order toppings that are reasonable. So you want to order like toppings that go well together, and then you get the whole thing, and you want to eat it when it's still fresh. So you can't get pizza and then you like leave it for like an hour and then you eat it, because then it's not really good. You got to eat it when it's fresh. So you got to order, you got to call into Domino's and say, hi, can I please get a large pepperoni pizza or something like that? And then ideally, the best is you go pick it up yourself. You like drive your car and you go get the Domino's and you take it back to your home. And because you live in the US, like your home's kind of bigger than Japan. And then you eat the pizza, and maybe you can dip it in some sauce, some garlic sauce, whatever you want. And that, I think, is pretty good. I think most of my friends are pretty happy with Domino's. Some people are like, oh, Costco pizza is better. But nobody says like Papa John's is the best, although I personally like Papa John's. But then in Japan, now the pizza is kind of different. So it's the same Domino's, okay? So Domino's still exists in Japan, and it's the same company as in the US, except it just tastes so much different. The crust is different, the sauce is different, the cheese is different, and the toppings are also different, and the sizes are also different. So like a Domino's medium from the US, they always have this coupon. By the way, if you're ever going to eat at Domino's, you have to use coupons. Okay, it doesn't matter if you've never eaten at Domino's before. There are coupons that are always available, no matter what. And so you basically should never order Domino's without a coupon. But there's always a coupon that's like 2 medium pizzas for some cheap price. And if you order just like 1 large pizza, it actually might be more expensive than if you order 2 medium pizzas. And I don't know why they do that, but just make sure you check coupons before you order from Domino's. And it's the same in Japan. Japan also has like Domino's. They have their Domino's app as well, and you can check for coupons and stuff. And a medium in the US, if I get a medium pizza, I don't know if I can eat the whole thing, but it's quite a bit. If I get a medium pizza in Japan, it's actually pretty small, and I can definitely eat all of that and eat a little bit more. And then if you really look online on the websites, like they clarify, they say like, oh, by the way, like the mediums in Japan are a little bit different than the mediums in the US or something. And it's just confusing because like the real fact of the matter is the medium in Japan is the small in the US. And then like the large in Japan is the medium in the US. And then they started changing that in the past 2 years because people said, oh, it's confusing that your sizes are different across different countries. So anyway, so Domino's, like it's kind of weird. And I just want to mention that Domino's in Japan, like there's one plus side, which is they do this thing called a quattro. So quattro means like 4 in a language that's not English. But what you can do is instead of ordering a pizza with just one kind, for example, like a pepperoni pizza or a sausage pizza or a cheese pizza, which just means that the whole pizza has like one kind of topping. What you can do is order a quattro, and it's usually like the same price or not much more. And then you basically can order 4 different kinds of toppings on one pizza. And this is really popular in Japan because in Japan, there's a lot of like, oh, I want to try a bunch of these, but I don't want to eat too much because I don't want to order too much because I don't want to waste. Like I don't want to order too much food and then have to waste it. But you can order the quattro, which is great. And then so what that means is probably the employees actually have a harder time because like, again, in the US, you can't really order like these 4 things. At most, if you pay extra, I think you can do like a half thing where you say like, okay, on this half, I want like pineapples, and on this half, I want mushrooms. And then, so you only have like, 2 halves. But in Japan, like the pizzas are pretty small. And you can still do it in a 4-way. So someone's going to say, okay, so I want pineapples on this 4th. I want sausages on this 4th. I want mushrooms on this 4th and pepperonis on this 4th. And whoever is making it has to like, they have to put a tiny bit of pineapples here, a tiny bit of mushrooms here. And then it's all for like a small pizza that like someone can eat and then they won't even be full. So Japanese pizza, I mean, I've had some good pizza, but it's most often the case that it's actually not that good. And I'm still on the lookout for new pizzas and stuff. And I'm open-minded about this. Someday, if I find great Japanese pizza, I will come back and I'll say I was wrong. And I'll be really happy to say that. But right now, I'm still thinking the pizza in the US is the best. Actually, I mean, not the best. I haven't had all the pizzas from all the countries, but I still like the pizza in the US more than pizza in Japan. And that is slightly disappointing. And also burgers. Burgers in the US, I think, taste kind of better. And I mean, Japan kind of has something that's different that's called like a hamburger steak, a hamburger, where it's like, it's not a hamburger. A hamburger usually means you've got the buns, which is like the top and the bottom bread, and you've got some meat in the middle. But then like the Japanese hamburger steak is it's just like the patty. It's just the meat, but it's served in a way such that it's like an entree and you can eat that with rice. So there's no bun, there's no bread, there's no lettuce, there's no like random other vegetables on it. It's just that thing, maybe with a little bit of onions and some sauce, and then you can eat that with rice. And that's just different. So I'm not going to say that Japanese burgers are bad, because actually I've had some burgers that are actually pretty good. But it's just different. That one's just different. But the Domino's pizza in Japan, I'm really sorry. I think it's just bad. I've had it fresh. I've had it on multiple different occasions, and it's kind of bad. They do have like other interesting sides. So they're like, oh, we've got fries. We've got like fried shrimp or something like that. And then they also have interesting toppings where they're like, oh, we have mentaiko, which is like a spicy cod roe. It's like a very Japanese type of topping. And like I have those. And then I think, oh, actually, it's not really good. It's not really suitable for a pizza. I don't think mentaiko goes that well on pizza. Maybe if you like it, it's okay. As long as you're happy, it's fine. But for me personally, I don't really like it that much. So in this one section, I've talked about something kind of mean where I'm like, oh, I don't like Japanese pizza. But overall, as a whole, like the food in Japan is absolutely fantastic. And I love that much more than the food in the US on average. But US pizza is kind of unbeatable so far. And I'm open-minded to that. So if you have any suggestions, you can let me know and I'll try it. And if I end up being wrong, if it turns out that I find great pizza in Japan, I'll be so happy to come back and say, hey guys, I found some good pizza. Okay, so anyways, this episode we talked a bunch about food, and just to recap, we talked about what a food coma is, which is when you eat so much that you kind of can't move, and then a food baby, which is when you eat so much that your belly kind of comes out. And then also we talked about some food culture stuff, where like Asian culture will kind of like have relatives like stuff the kid and be like, eat more so that you don't starve, you're too skinny. And then I also talked a little bit about my own pizza preferences of like American pizza and Japanese pizza. But anyways, thanks so much for listening until the end of this episode. And as always, if you want to follow or subscribe, then you can feel free to do that. And then you'll get a notification when new episodes come. But new episodes will always come on Tuesday on 7 a.m. in Japan time. And if you want to subscribe, you can do that. If you don't want to, it's okay. If you want to unsubscribe, it's okay too. You should do whatever you want. So thank you so much for listening until the end, and I hope to see you next Tuesday on Kuli English Podcast.